Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we'll be talking about the Hyperboost servers, the current status, and like what is the best for a lot of people to do if you just started to get in nowadays, which probably if you're coming back, you're probably just better off in legacy server, I guess, nowadays. But pretty much we're going to be addressing on why is the reason of Hyperboost is pretty much kind of feels like a ghost town, and why does Hyperboost feels like a dying server, quote unquote. But yeah, so at first let's review like how many Hyperboost servers that came up. It depends on the region, but I play on Eastern Americas, so that's the only server I know. And from what I heard from Eastern Americas, we added two new servers, pretty much Falcon and Rowan. So I don't know why they did this in the first place. They should have just done one servers, because I think they're overestimating how many servers that they're gonna be having. But yeah, and if we want to talk about like compared, like the problem is like getting people in Ace. I guess the one way to think about it is people in Western, like they don't want to play in West anymore, so they create a new NA East account in order to play with a lot more people, because NA East is technically one of the most populated server for Throne and Liberty. But yeah, so they added to Rowan and Falcon, but again, there's too much split, because right now, here's the status for Hyperboost. There is no point on playing in Hyperboost aside from you're actually a new player. If you're a vet, like if you've been playing this game before, you might as well just play in your old account, because like let's say you have an archboss back then that you got, and then like if you create a new account, then most likely you're not gonna be having like the archboss. You're not gonna hold that archboss, and the archboss grind takes a long time. You either need to be like in a good guild, or you just need to get lucky on like peace drops. And the archboss is so expensive that it's not worth for you to giving it up. So that's one thing why people are playing legacy instead of playing in Hyperboost. And the second thing is the quote-unquote Hyperboost feature is not only exclusive to Hyperboost. So what my impression was before was like, all right, you're in Hyperboost, then you get all of these Hyperboost buffs, but they took a different approach and they pretty much used the buff on legacy as well, which creates a weird kind of like decision making by people, because they were like, oh, so what's the point of me playing in Hyperboost then? Like, yeah, you got like the same playing field experience, but there's not that many open world PvP anymore. You probably just want to do castle, and server's kind of free anyway. It's pretty much like a Zerg v Zerg instead of like a competitive 48 or something like that. Like there's no like competitive small scales and all that. It's just a ZVZ in the end of the day. And then so the open world, like personally, the open world aspect for me is not really hitting. So you're kind of focused on like battlegrounds, and I'll talk about battlegrounds later. But first, I'll be talking about the benefit of the Hyperboost. So technically, there is no benefit on Hyperboost, because you're gonna be receiving the same amount of benefit as you were in like legacy servers. So really, there's no point on you playing in legacy, like in Hyperboost servers. You're only gonna be meeting with new people that touches the game, or you're gonna be like losing all your progression that you did the first 2 months of the game that releases, which a lot of people do have some progression in the first 2 months of the game that releases, and then you're pretty much only be playing like the buffs. You can get it on the legacy. You can get a Solent and the weapon mastery buff in legacy as well. So really, there's no point on you playing in Hyperboost. You can get the gear progression to 6k in regular server as well. So like, really, I'm trying to explain it. There's no point on playing Hyperboost, and it's just a minus, like a debuff for a lot of people, because again, the stuff in Hyperboost are so much more expensive. If you want to pay to win your way, definitely pay to win it in legacy. It's way easier, it's way cheaper, there's a lot more people in it. So yeah, I don't really see Hyperboost as a good spot right now. And then the next, we'll be talking about the queues. So before this, like when they first released the Hyperboost experience, you can still cross queue pretty much. If you queue BG on Hyperboost, you're pretty much gonna be meeting with people in the main server, which there's only Rowan and Falcon right now. So pretty much any people from these two servers, when they queue, they will pretty much queue with everyone on like Ivory, Carnage, Celebrite, Adrenaline, Snowburn. I don't know about Pippin, but I'm pretty sure there are 2 in that BGs. But yeah, so a lot of people are protesting about this, and I don't know, they should not protest. Like if I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think you should protest on a Hyperboost server if you're gonna get queued with the main server, because realistically, let's be honest, it's a 24v24 queue. So if you think about it, 24v24, it's a lot of people that needs to be queued only in NAEs too. So you need to have 48 people queuing at the same time in NAEs, and the role has to match too. So that one by itself, it makes it a little bit harder to actually like queue it. And then so what happened was people are protesting and they want like, oh, like the weapon is imbalanced, can we just like have a balanced PvP in BGs, which resulted in the devs actually give them the queue to just like, so they only can queue from Rowan and Fulcon. And think about it, like, do you really think you have that many players online at the same time between these 2 servers that you can pop Battlegrounds like nicely aside from prime time? Like it's not gonna queue pop, like it's. And then the devs did it, and eventually people are protesting again, like, oh, BG's pops are not queuing, like are not popping. So that's what happened. So they stopped they stopped the cross server queues. So the game, it makes the game looks more dead, if that makes sense. So by that logic, it's just like, all right, now like people, the moment they can't queue BGs, like the Hyperboost experience, like the first player experience is kind of like ruined, in my opinion. And that's why the server becomes more dead, because people are like, oh, then let me just play in Legacy. Like, I don't mind playing in behind like a gear score by a bit. I'm gonna catch up eventually. So, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened for Hyperboost. And I don't know about the co-op dungeon and all that. I'm pretty sure for co-op dungeons they still cross queue, but I could be mistaken. I've heard some other stuff about it. But yeah, the party board and the raid experience is also kind of ruined too in Hyperboost, because like I don't know why they decided to delay it by a week in Hyperboost, which they did, and then like it actually came out in Hyperboost. But again, like finding the group even in the regular server, if you want to, you need to be like in a Discord group, and I guess it's kind of hard to make a Discord group when there's already so much Discord group formed. And it's probably easier if you have like some friends and other guilds that can just carry you through, which a lot of guilds does. Like pretty much I usually sometimes shot call and host or heart rate pretty much for everyone that's like semi-new and don't want to get their own group and all that. So it's easier for sure to get carried on a legacy server for raid stuff. So it's easier for you to catch up in the legacy server. That's what I'm trying to say. If you're in a Hyperboost, the only experience that you have pretty much only Conflict Archboss and Castle Siege are the only 2 things that's pretty like and Nebula. It's the only like few things that's pretty much like, oh, like it's a grind kind of thing. The auction house are expensive. There's nothing really like fair. So I would say it's just a really weird spot, because it almost suffers the same thing as Pippin, but a little bit better, I guess, since it's not just console exclusive. But yeah, that's why a lot of people are just playing in Hyperboost now. A lot of people are just playing in Legacy nowadays. So if we see a lot of these Reddit threads, people are saying like, Hyperboost is drowning, something needs to be done. Legacy server players queuing on Hyperboost during Archboss. This is another thing that basically killed Hyperboost, because if you're in Hyperboost, you're hoping like when you queue peace portals, at least you're going against like people at the same gear score as you are. Which, let's be honest, if you're not playing Expo Orbs, you're not going to be catching up anyway. Expo Orbs is another issue in the game that needs to be addressed, I would say. Like, yeah, I don't mind having a broken weapon for PvE, but if the broken is like, it's 4 times, and then every single, like, if you see how nightmare rates are cleared nowadays with Expo Orbs, it's actually pretty nuts. Like, it takes almost 0 skill to do it. Like, it makes it people who cleared it before that was doing it the not the legit way, but not the cheesy DPS way where you skip every single map it's just it makes PvE just became like a gear check, which you don't want to do that, because you want to make the high-end PvE content like, all right, people can keep block. Yes, people are going to be jailed for a long time, but that's part of the experience though. Like, it's not like the moment you make Nightmare Raid becomes easy to get, the moment you lose its prestige, I would say. So yeah, that's another issue for Expo Orb too. Like, let's be honest, even though if you're not getting queued with with legacy server on peace portals, you're still gonna get cooked if you're not running expo orbs for peace portals. So yeah, that's another thing. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's just talk about the hyperboost experience for queuing arch bosses. So people from regular servers can make a account on uh, piece on Hyperboost, and pretty much they can queue them together. Pretty much there's a lot of video that I was talking about it, but I'm not gonna deep dive about it. It's just an issue where people can cross queue, pretty much ruin the Hyperboost experience by having so much better gear scores and legendary gear, and just have their PvE sets ready, have their mastery 200 out of 200, and they just pretty much get a lot of contribution. Some contributions are like 20%, which is insane. Like you're not supposed to be abuse that, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah. And then like a lot of the questions are kind of the same for Hyperboost, like can a returning player actually catch up in PvP through Hyperboost servers? The question is, the answer is yes, but at the same time, you're much faster catching up with legacy server in my opinion. But yeah, unless they put some exclusive Hyperboost buffs in order to like push their legendary gear faster by giving them like maybe I don't want to say this, but maybe like 60 chaos prisms, they're gonna catch up way faster in Hyperboost that way. It makes the Hyperboost worth, but right now it doesn't make it worth because everything you get in Hyperboost servers, you get it in legacy servers, and everything in legacy servers is cheaper. The experience is better. Yes, open world is gonna be a nightmare, but bro, who cares about it, right? Like, it is what it is. So yeah, and pretty much that's about it for me. And let's just check about the player base. And yeah, so there you got some new players for Hyperboost, and but it's not enough players to the point where that's another thing too that I was going to talk about. Like to make two servers and AEs, I think this is just too much. If you want to just make one, merge them together. Like at this point, it's too many servers. It feels like a ghost town in there. So and usually for MMO wise, if server feels like a ghost town, then usually people quit because like they got nothing to do. Like they got nothing to socialize with. They got no static to be formed. Like it's just a really hard experience if you're not merging the guilds together and all that. But yeah, and aside from that, that I just want to talk about that for today. Just some Hyperboost issue and why is it seems that even though we're gaining player, but it just seems that because everyone's just playing Legacy. But but yeah, that's it for me today. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.